the shadows, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going through. It's down low, down low. You don't know what I'm going through, don't know what I'm going.
Hey, welcome back TPL Nation. Got another draft analysis for you guys. And today we got Bofa Deez Nuzleafs, coached by the one, the only Brooks himself. And I gotta say, this team, I definitely, earlier, like in the offseason, I was definitely a little skeptical about what Brooks was going to put together with what he had. But I gotta say, Brooks came through. He drafted half of the Pokedex, and then he really formed out a decent team. So as we look, we do have the linchpin of Pelipper because I feel like his team works the best in rain. Just have a nice Choice Scarf Drizzle set. Obviously, he could run whatever the rock is for extending the terrain, extending the weather. But Hurricane, U-Turn, Hydro Pump, and Defog, I feel like you don't really need anything else with Pelipper, to be honest. I feel like the Defog support is decent. If you just have some spikes, you have some entry hazards you need to get rid of, because I'm pretty sure his team doesn't have a grounded poison type. He does have a way to get rid of hazards, and we'll get to that in a minute. However, I think an extra defogger would be very interesting, and it's a nice fourth move because Hydro Pump, U-Turn, and Hurricane is just about all you need with Pelipper in the rain. But as we move through, it does get niche moves like Ice Beam, Knockoff, Seed Bomb. Wow, Pelipper gets Seed Bomb. Yo, I was today years old. Scald's interesting. I think Hydro Pump would probably be better just to get that damage. Tailwind, a very good support move, especially for slower things on his team, like we'll see in a minute. Weather Ball's interesting because if he doesn't want to go with Hydro Pump, he could just run Weather Ball and it's base 100. So it is beating out moves like Scald and Surf for a little bit of extra damage, which Pelipper definitely needs since it's not really the hardest hitting thing out there. As we move through, it does have certain things like Double Team. I don't feel like it's a good Endure user, but as we move through here, we see a few different things it could use. It could get Shockwave, which could be interesting. A little bit crazy. I do see Swallow. Does this thing get Stockpile? It does get Stockpile, so that could be interesting to see Pelipper come out and just get bulky. But I feel like Pelipper really just wants to get in and get out to support the team. So that's pretty much what Pelipper does. It really got the biggest buff it could have hoped for in Drizzle. So as we move on to the Premier Rain Abuser, we have Crawdaunt. And fun fact, Crawdaunt is like one of my favorite Pokemon. I think it's kind of funny that me and Anthony are friends and we both really like the Water Dark types. He likes Sharpedo and I love Crawdaunt. But Crawdaunt's really good in rain. 120 base attack, adaptability, choice band, life orb, whatever you want to run on this thing is going to ensure that it hits really freaking hard. And the rain is just another power up, which making things like Aqua Jet and Waterfall just do insane amounts of damage. Crawdaunt getting access to close combat this generation really gives it another stab move to hit not stab move, give it a good coverage move to hit steel types as well as other dark types. But to be honest, in the rain, you're probably better off clicking Waterfall or Aqua Jet. Really strong attack there. As we move down, we do see a few other things, but I think it's kind of just still outdone by this set. He could run the Dragon Dance set, but as we'll see, he does have other things in his draft to really support Crawdaunt's low speed. But as we go through, just take a note of anything you might see that's interesting. I mean, he's got Swords Dance, which could be interesting. To be honest, a Swords Dance with a Life Orb, and then he's firing off Aqua Jets in the rain, that might be all the damage he needs just to power through his opponent's team. So definitely a hugely strong, scary Pokemon in Crawdaunt. Very good Rain Abuser. As we move on to another possible rain abuser, we have Kabutops. Really where you could say where Crawdaunt is like the hammer in the rain, Kabutops is like the spear. Like it moves really fast with Swift Swim ability there. It's got Life Orb. This thing gets a Swords Dance up. It's powering through. It doesn't really need Aqua Jet like Crawdaunt does. Just because under Swift Swim its 80 base speed will double giving it 160. If you invest into that, maybe and even keep an Adamant Nature, it's going to be almost as fast as a Regieleki, which is kind of crazy to think about. But with Superpower, Waterfall, and Stone Edge, that's pretty much all it needs. Unfortunately, I really wish Kabutops had Earthquake, because then it wouldn't have to run Superpower over something like Earthquake. But it doesn't get it, which is unfortunate, and we ain't running Earth Power, no way, no how. But as we move through, it does have a few interesting things that could see an appearance on this set. We do see the Liquidation, maybe to lower opponents' defenses, Leech Life to heal, knock off the steal items. As we keep moving down through, we do see a few niche things like Stealth Rock if he wants to bring the Stealth Rock. But I mean, Kabutops is going to be doing one thing and one thing only, and that's probably just abusing the rain. Like coming in, getting that Swift Swim boost, and being super fast. It could be a very good late game cleaner. Kabutops going to be hitting really hard with the Waterfall and Rain coming off 115 base attack, which is pretty good. And then you slap on maybe a Life Orb or even a Choice Band, really, and just forget about Swords Dance. And, this thing can hit really freaking hard. So, as we see just in the first 3 Pokemon, he's got a really good physical Rain core right here, and I feel like the rest of the team will probably support it really well. And as we move into the rest of the team, we see his premier special attacker being that of Xurkitree. Now, Xurkitree is not the fastest thing in the world, and unfortunately it did lose Tail Glow this gen, but I feel like a Choice Scarf, with being a Choice Scarf user, firing off Choice Scarf Thunders in the rain is going to be huge for Brooks' team. I mean, you have 173 base special attack. That's like some of the highest in the game. I can't even think of anything that has a higher special attack than, like, off the top of my head, besides maybe some kind of Deoxys. So Xurkitree hits really, really hard. 83 base speed is not the worst, especially in Draft League. It's really good. You combine that with a Choice Scarf, and then Thunder being 110 base power and always hitting in rain. Like, Xurkitree can be a rain abuser in its own self. And it still does have Calm Mind as well. So, while losing Tail Glow, honestly, with 1 Calm Mind up, that's probably all you need to just start sweeping through your opponent's team, or just get your Beast Boost with the special attack and just start running through. But Xurkitree being a very good Pokemon, so there's a lot of... So as we look, you could really see how Brooks' team can really get out of hand in the rain. It's really powerful, and let's also remember that these are 2 Pokemon that can Dynamax as well, and if they go for Manx Geyser, they set up their own rain, which is definitely going to be something to remember. Kabutops in the rain could be a very interesting Dynamax. I do believe it should. With the doubling the HP, it could live a couple moves, but setting up its own rain would be huge. To be firing off those Life Orb boosted 130 base power geysers. So yeah, that's probably what Xurkitree can do here. I do have Thunder, I have Grass Knot, I have Volt Switch, and I have Rain Dance, just because I think Xurkitree might be an interesting second way to get up Rain, just in case he needs it. Grass Knot for the ground types, Volt Switch to get the Heckles out of there while also doing a ton of damage. As we move down through, we do see a few other coverage options it does get, like Dazzling Gleam. It does get access to screens, which is interesting. Thunder Wave, but I feel like... actually, it only gets access to Reflect? No, it gets both screens, okay. So it does have a shallow move pool, but I feel like just... if your opponent doesn't have a ground type, like Choice Scarf Thunders are just free. Like, they're just super free, to be honest. So Xurkitree being super good, I feel like, in that fashion. As we move through, it does get some more interesting things. I did see it got Solar Beam, it gets Hyper Beam, so those could be interesting things in the right situation. Electro Web could be pretty good for lowering opponent's speed as well. Charge Beam could be good for spiraling out of control with this Pokemon. So another good rain abuser, I feel like. So look at Brooks coming in with the synergy this gen. I like it. And as we move on, we have probably Brooks' premier physical wall of Tangrowth. Just have the standard Rocky Helmet Regenerator. I have knockoff Seed Bomb because I like to hit my moves, Earthquake and Leech Seed just for some recovery for Tangrowth as well as other Pokemon on the team. I really like Tangrowth in this team here. It is going to help cover for some physical weaknesses here. Obviously, Tangrowth not doing the best in rain, because if he faces like the rain mirror match, Tangrowth's not going to want to take a Hurricane at all. But with Tangrowth having the Rocky Helmet, it can get that residual damage off on physical attackers. It has Regenerator to bring its HP back up. Brooks, do not run Chlorophyll in the rain. Please don't do it, bro. Just don't do it. You can say you did it, but just don't do it. Alright, as we move on down through its moveset, there's not a whole lot more it can take advantage of. I mean, you do have Poison Jab here for like some niche moves. You have Power Whip if you want to risk. Rock Slide could be interesting to maybe hit like opposing Zapdos if you have to, or something like that. Synthesis to heal up maybe outside of the rain, but to be honest, Regenerator is probably all he's going to need. As we move down through, not a whole bunch of other things to use. Yeah, pretty much Tangrowth is just going to be pretty good for like pivoting in and out, getting that regen, soaking up hits. I think could be pretty good. This Pokemon could be very annoying, very, very annoying. So yeah, that's pretty much it for Tangrowth. It's a pretty simple Pokemon, nice physical wall. And then we move into Brooks' special wall, the Blissey, and I love this Pokemon. I love it a lot better than Chansey because it doesn't care too much about knockoffs. Just have heavy-duty boots for, just ignore entry hazards, toxic spikes. But Seismic Talk, Stealth Rock, Toxic, and Saw Boiled are probably going to be some of the most premier stuff. Blissey does. It just wears stuff down. It also has really good coverage like Heal Bell and Healing Wish and Wish if he wants to Wish Pass into his team. So he does have Wish support if he needs it. Blissey also does get screens. With Soft Boiled, it's really hard to kill. If you invest in HP, your wishes are like super stacked, so you can pretty much bring up anything to full HP, which would be pretty awesome. Teleport is also a really good move for turning around, Volt turning around, basically. Thunder Wave could cripple an opponent's Pokemon. Blissey just doing what it does. It's fat, it's annoying, and I feel like it's just going to... Ooh, Charm. I feel like it's just going to keep... doing more of that for Brooks' team this season. So not too much more to say about Blissey. It's also a good status absorber with a natural cure. That could be really good. So as we move into a potential Gigantamax on Brooks' team, we have the Hatterene. Now, I really like Hatterene. Unfortunately, it's kind of like the opposite of Blissey. It has low HP. However, it has pretty good defenses. It has really good special attack. It's slow, so a nice Trick Room Mon. And that was another thing that I think Hatterene can really support this team with is Trick Room, because you wouldn't think if it's kind of like a good backup plan for him when you think about it, because if for some reason Pelipper went down because of some shenanigans, Hatterene still has the Trick Room to make really good use of itself and make really good use of Crawdaunt and its base speed. Crawdaunt is a really good Trick Room abuser, so I feel like Hatterene's Trick Room can also set this team up for success as well as Rain. So I do like the fact that if the Rain strategy does go down the drain, get it, Rain down the drain, for Brooks, he can really take advantage of a possible Trick Room strat with Hatterene. And also Hatterene does have that ability to block hazards, so that's going to be really useful for Hatterene to help protect Pokemon like Pelipper and yeah, I guess really Pelipper would probably be the premier like fear of rocks or something like that. But also, seeing as he doesn't have a grounded poison type, I feel like Magic Bounce is going to be very useful for blocking toxic spikes and things like that. He will have to be careful about switching in on certain poison types to block back the toxic spike, but I feel like Hatterene is very useful for stuff like that. It does have some pretty decent bulk in defense and special defense leftovers, as well as moves like Draining Kiss and Giga Drain will help it gain some HP back. That's kind of like one of the like more bad things with Hatterene is that it doesn't have a lot of HP, and it doesn't have reliable recovery, in my opinion. Like, it does have Draining Kiss and Giga Drain, which are fine, but at the end of the day, it's like I'd rather be clicking like a stronger move and just having the ability to recover up later. I'm not sure if this Pokemon gets Wish at all, but as we did discuss, Blissey could Wish Pass into Hatterene, so it does have that option. As we move down through, Hatterene does have quite a few interesting tech moves, nice coverage all in all. Ooh, Nuzzle, interesting. It does get Nuzzle, Thunder Wave, Healing Wish, Screens, so Hatterene can definitely do a good support role, especially with Trick Room, Aromatherapy, so he does have a good Cleric on his team, aside from Blissey. I think Blissey has Aromatherapy too. If not, then I'm just crazy, and don't mind me. We got Charm here. Another Charm user to stop those physical attacking Dynamaxes from spiraling out of control. You know, I love Hatterene because it's a ×4 resist to fighting, so it's a really good switch in for fighting moves. Gotta love it. It gets other good moves like Life Dew, so it could recover even more. I kind of wish Life Dew went to 50% if it was in rain. You know, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But to be honest, we could see something like Life Dew on Hatterene to just get that HP back 100% of the time. As we move down, there's a few other things that it could use. Maybe Safeguard just to prevent some statuses as well. But obviously, that's not going to be too useful with Blissey right there with Natural Cure. So as long as Blissey's around, this thing can bounce back hazards, and Blissey can come in and absorb status for it. But some really nice walls on his team between Tangrowth, Blissey, and Hatterene to really support the Rain Core of these 4 Pokemon he has in the front here. So I like Tangrowth. He's got that nice wall and then Blissey for the Spadef wall, and then Hatterene just as another all-around bulky Pokemon, but also more of a support Pokemon with maybe like Trick Room and Aromatherapy. So I really liked that. Brooks has built a pretty good core here, which is funny because Brooks thought I was going to rip his team a new one, but actually now that I'm looking at it, it's really decent, to be honest with you. We do round it out with maybe not the best Pokemon in the world, which is the Pincurchin. It's kind of like a one-trick pony. But things that it gives for Brooks' team is it allows him to set up spikes and toxic spikes, which could be really good, especially if his opponent doesn't have anything to get rid of the spikes. I almost feel like it's a little bit detrimental to run Electric Surge on a rain team, but if he wants to, that's up to him. He does have the Skull being boosted in the rain, so I mean, if worse comes to worse, he does have the option to just run Lightning Rod and maybe like, I don't know, maybe an Air Balloon on Pincurchin, so like Air Balloon Lightning Rod to turn Pincurchin into an electric immunity, which could be really good for his team, while also throwing out spikes and spikes and spikes and spikes. So Pincurchin is interesting. I'm not sure what else it gets. So it does get Memento, so he does have support there. It gets Recover, but Pincurchin isn't that bulky. He might not be using that. Sucker Punch could be some interesting priority if you just need to pick something off. Thunderbolt's decent. Thunder in the rain would be really nice. Thunder Wave is good. Zing Zap, not really going to be useful because Pincurchin is slow as heck. But as we move down, there's some other things it could get. This thing gets a lot of water moves, like Muddy Water and Bubble Beam, Brine. Rising Voltage is always good. I feel like that's a must with the Electric Terrain set. It also gets Self-Destruct, which is interesting. Self-Destruct, but no Explosion from what I saw. I didn't see an Explosion. No Explosion. So it does get Self-Destruct, which could be interesting. I could see him running this as like a suicide lead, maybe, to just set up toxic spikes, and then once it's done its job, just blow up and get out of there and provide a safe switch in for like Pelipper to go ahead and set up the rain. So another solid Pokemon, like not the best, but it's there. So I feel like I have to go ahead and just take a second to look at his overall team composition. He does have some fighting type weaknesses, as we see. He has 3, but with solid switch-ins to fighting type like Tangrowth and Hatterene, I feel like that's pretty much covered. You know, his team is going to suffer a little bit while not being in rain, but I do give him bonus points for having that Trick Room in the back. So if I have to rate this team, let's see. He doesn't fear hazards too much, but he does have abilities to prevent hazards with Hatterene, as well as defog with Pelipper. So I guess all in all, I'll give it like a 7.5 out of 10. And I say 7.5 just because I don't really see a premier Dynamax on this team. Like, Kabutops could be there, but I don't think it's the best Pokemon to Dynamax. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 7.5 just because his team requires something to be going on for it to really put in work, or he just has bulky walls in the back. And I feel like Brooks is going to have to be careful to not let his offensive pressure of these 4 Mons go down too early, because once they do, it's pretty much just going to be up to these 3 Pokemon to try to stall out what's left on the opponent's team. And that can be really hard, especially if your opponent still has like their Dynamax left or something like that. So I'll give it a 7.5. It's a really decent team. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I'm going to drop it down to 7. I just don't like the super heavy reliability on rain for a lot of these Pokemon. I mean, it's okay, but, you know, I mean, if you're bringing rain week to week, you're kind of predictable at that point. So I am going to drop it down to 7. But it's okay. I think Brooks can put in some work with this team. And I think we're just going to wrap it up there and move on to the next draft analysis, you guys. So interested to see how Brooks is going to go this season. Maybe he can make a playoff berth this season. But I've been Ace Trainer Ryan. Peace.